Hello, this is Rob and Laurie. And Laurie and Rob. And I'm here, but I'm not going to quite be here. Yes, and zombies. I'm going to be off camera for the beginning of this, or possibly all of this, we'll see. And Laurie's going to take it. And we're going to be talking about Black Dog's Caves, which is where the party went next. Hit it.
Right, so anyway, here we are in Black Dog's Caves, or Black Dog's Cavern, or whatever you want to call it. It's literally little caves, but whatever. Now, on entering, on a slightly more expensive rowboat, as it were, with all of us, including Margie, along for the ride for her share of the treasure. Because of the rowboat being sturdier, and us hitting walls on the way in because we couldn't quite perform the tests adequately, the boat didn't actually break. Lucky enough, if we'd been using the slightly less expensive boat, we probably could have been swimming the rest of the way, as it was, just from getting through the entrance. Now, as we went in, we went into this big, wide open cavern area with multiple paths branching off along the water and a beachhead off to one side. Now, it's just a small beached area, and on the beach were a set of skeletons and a single saber, which wasn't rusted, corroded, or showing any signs of age, as it were. Now, as we approached the beach, the guys had a little bit of a silly idea. Let's take the grappling hook that Gabe currently has, with the rope on the end of it, throw the grappling hook around the saber and pull it off, because they're half expecting the skeletons on the beach to come to life, to defend the sword, as it were. That didn't happen, but we did have a ghostly spirit materialize crying out, "No!" for whatever reason. I don't quite understand that, although Rob will probably explain it to me as and when it occurs, because we got the saber and Gabe is currently now using it as his primary weapon, because it's slightly better, as it were. It's an upgrade to his current rapier, and it's, yeah. After that, we set off from that beach to try and go down one of the other paths, and the water starts out of the water starts rising these weird crocodile beasties, I'm not sure what they were called at the time. And they started attacking the boat. And we tried fighting them off. Carrick lightning zapping the the water because he's got the lightning spell. Tanadil cleaved one in half, and it was sunk down. Or no, wait, Tanadil did do some damage, yes, and yeah, he did cleave it in half, and it bled out. It sunk into the water, and then the rest of them pretty much buggered off, because we summoned their big old bigger brother at that point. The Draco Lord, I believe it was called. And this guy was a mini-boss, if you will, but still quite dangerous considering we were in a boat, and it was going to try and destroy the boat, which it did quite a bit of damage to before we managed to shoo it off, as it were.
Mind blast.
Yeah, we had a mind blast from Carrick at the ceiling to knock some stalactites down onto it. Fortunately, he managed to make them hit it. Yeah, so after that, we ended up going down one of the other passageways, leading to another beachhead. On this beachhead was a set of chests, with a skeleton reaching out on the shoreline as if trying to get to them. As soon as one of us stood on the stand, we had lightning bolts shoot directly out at everybody who was not in the boat, or at least those in the boat had a better chance of not getting hit by it. It took us a while, and utilizing the same tactic that we used to get the sword, we figured out that the chests were actually illusions, and this was all just a nice big trick to make people jump onto the beachhead and fry, basically, so they are unable to continue into the caverns. If it's Black Dog, Black Dog was a pirate captain and extremely paranoid, so he's going to have the whole place trapped. And due to everything else, we figured out that it was illusions, and we were just going to go away and head off down one of the other passageways. We then went off down another side passage, leading to another beachhead with what looked like a well of what appeared to be water in the centre. Not sure exactly if it was a well or a shrine or whatever, but it had ornate carvings on it, so it could have been a shrine. Which, apparently drinking from the water in there regenerated health for whoever drank from it. Whether or not this is a proper full-on test to see if it actually does that, I'm not sure, because I didn't partake in the drinking, even though I could have done so. But at least 2 of our number did, and they did get healing from it. Tannadale decided that, right, I'm going to scoop up a bunch of this into a flask of some sort, which happens to be empty because I've used the oil up in it. And we left that and headed off to another side passage, which led to yet another beachhead, with skeletons that are coming out with stalagmites coming out the ground, or spike traps coming straight out the ground. For reference, I'm going to say basically like whatever creates the husks in Mass Effect kind of deal. Things spiking out the sand with the skeletons embedded on them. Utilising Carrick's same attempt with the Mind Blast to knock down the stalactites, we wanted to figure out where all the traps were, where they weren't, and find a safe path that led to a slightly discoloured section of the wall, which, upon getting through, thanks to Margie, because she's like coming in and basically out-roguing me, stealing the roguey spotlight, as it were, she got the wall open, we went through, and we entered into Black Dog's treasure room, where Black Dog himself, as a spirit, basically told us to get out, and I will tell you how to get to the place with the Jade Serpent if you leave my treasure alone. Now, Margie wasn't going to have any of that, and she basically gave him some lip. And in the end, it came down to us being slightly agreeable with him, even though Gabe was kind of also there for the treasure too. Black Dog had decided that, right, on top of you leaving the room and me telling you, I'm going to take the girl. This is the point where Gabe pretty much were like, nope, not having that. And we proceeded to fight Black Dog after he decided to cover himself up in sand, so we didn't have to worry too much on the ethereal side of things. Although we had a lot of magical equipment and magical spellcasting being done at him, which knocked a lot of his sand off and made him vanish. So we were able to go into the room, and we started unlocking chests after trap checks. Gabe came this close to instantaneous death from a quiet death enlaced needle on one of the chests, because it went straight past and grazed his neck. In fact, I think it happened twice over the course of the whole thing. And yeah, it could have actually just been on 0 health, considered dying at that point, and no one would understand why. Quiet Death is one of the most powerful poisons in the game. So yeah, got some lucky rolls in there, even though I do have to add my level on top of my roll for Constitution and all that. But as we were unlocking chests, Black Dog came back and suffocated Margie to death with sand on her face without us realizing it. And oh boy, did things get stirred up again, because It's like, I have the girl, now leave. But we kept fighting him again and again and again as we were unlocking chests, until finally, Gabe managed to get, and well, that's another point, Black Dog recognized the sword of Sorrow, which is the saber that Gabe is now using, when Gabe pointed it at his throat. Well, his ethereal throat. Like, and he's not even recognizing the blade, he seemed to know a lot about it. And Gabe was like, oh, I bet you have some stories to tell about this sword then. His response was, oh, you keep hold of that blade long enough and you're having some stories of your own. Basically, Gabe got a good striking with this blade at one point later on the line. And it seemed to actually really hurt him enough that it made him explode, causing some serious damage to everybody at that point who was nearby. And he didn't come back after that. In the end, we managed to unlock all the chests, had a few traps be set off, and basically Gabe got hurt from traps of explosions of, like, say, the shock bomb that went off, and a few other things that would have occurred, but were not really harmful to him, at least, because there was one Mage Bane trap in there, reduced mana off of the mages who would have got caught in it. But considering everybody else was like, okay, we're going to back up because we don't know if these are trapped or not. And we got a good haul. There was some... Rob had to convert some items across because of how they were built for original D20 system. But they were converted for the Age system. And we got a good amount of gold, which we promised to give 20% of all findings to Gareth, or whatever his name is. So in the end, after basically looting the whole place, we managed to find the part that led us to where the entrance to the Temple of Yig was. Of course, we had to fight the current because it would have taken us down what would have been a waterfall if we hadn't managed to successfully pull off a Constitution rowing, I believe it was Constitution, but yes, rowing test. And it was both me and Tanadil doing the rowing. We both had to succeed or we both had to fail to get a success or a fail. It was like one of us succeeded, one of us failed, and then we both had the reverse happen, and then we both succeeded. So it was like, yeah, we got lucky there, otherwise we would have been pretty screwed. We managed to get through the blocked up area, took it down, went to the entranceway to the Temple of Yig, where we then proceeded to have the issue of like, right, we have to put our hand in that thing, because it's a door that has a knob in through a hole of a serpent's mouth, basically. And Carrack decided to do it. He put his hand in to turn the handle for the door, which he had to pass a test to believe that, to understand that the pain he was getting from having the serpent bite down on him was not real. It wasn't real because the serpent head was not actually biting down on his arm, but he still had to pass a test because it felt like it. Because if he hadn't passed that test, he would have now possibly been forced to have to pull his hand out and then get blasted with whatever knockout drug, or venom, or poison, or whatever would have caused to knock him out for a very long period of time. And then we had the door open, we had lanterns ready to go, and we went into the first level of the Temple of Yig, which was the top layer of the temple going down, leading us down through some sort of spiral type dealio.
Yes, it was shaped like a snake. Now, first room of that. There it is. First room. And you can see it leads down into water.
Mm-hmm.
Just a couple of things I will say also about the section you've just explained there.
Mm-hmm.
The bit that was all of those traps that led to the secret wall, actually it was quite interesting because Gabe was saying, well, you know, there's nothing here, let's not waste our time.
Yeah.
And Karak countered with, well, there's evidently traps and dead people. Why would they trap the place if there was nothing here? So, sort of, Black Dog, in trying to overly protect this area and make this the one that's really, really trapped to protect his treasure, he's also drawn tension to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite ironic, really, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Also, the other thing was that the gas that would have poured out of the door would have been quite debilitating, because the guy that got hit by it before was never the same again, which could probably have been minus stats from some like perma poison.
Yeah.
And you'll notice that this following dungeon, it's as if like each dungeon is a personality, it's a soul, right?
Yeah.
So this one is a cove. It's salty. It's briny. It's full of things that could have been done, but life has passed in regrets and sorrow.
Well, sort of sorrow for starters.
Sabre of sorrow, yes. But this next one is about it's poison. It's like you are in a snake that's biting you. And there are lots of opportunities coming up.
And a sunken temple of Yig.
Which is what they're in. Now,
Sunken temple.
Yes.
Where to do Black Avon Depths to get the sunken temple.
Here's the map. So they start on the smaller levels first, right? And then it just goes on through into the final section, obviously in a big pit at the end with a completely locked room. So,
Boss key.
let's start then with the beginning. Not really much in there. So
there was the water section, which Karak ended up using a water breathing potion that we found and a water scroll of swimming or something like that we had acquired in Black Dog's treasure.
Popped them, went down into the water. It turns out
the
second level is just water, and when you go down through the steps of that into the third level, it's not water anymore. The water above was being resisted, stopping. Now that's the power of you. You protected his temple.
Yeah.
He left a spell.
Yes, and then Karak came back and was like, it's alright guys, you can pretty much just fall down. Karak went back up and grabbed a necklace that was on the
statue.
Yes.
Yes, and there was a shadowy person that didn't like it, but there you go. Very shady. So, they all made it down into number 3, met Alistair, and he said...
Yes, there was 2 S's in that.
All these snakes, they've got like multiple S's in their names, How they do it. Well, now then, with this chap, he said, look, I'll give you the Jade Serpent, I know what you want, but you got to get me 4 items. But it's alright, you've already got one of them.
So the other 3 will be easy to find.
That amulet there.
You need to find the fangs, the venom, and the scales of the serpent, because you already have the amulet of the serpent, or amulet of
whatever. So,
again, all this loot is replaced from a D20 system.
So the guys agreed to do it for the Jade Serpent, which they know they have to get.
Yep.
They go down the next level, and what can you remember from that level?
We had a prayer room, incense room,
there was some
meditation room,
there was some nice
training rooms.
He got some nice mana incense to help recharge his mana back up. That was good loot. That was creative loot. Because the idea with this incense I came up with would be when he tries to recover mana from meditating.
Yeah. He
gets double the magic score, not just 1.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. He's being basically they were using magic, a lot of these serpents. Back in the day. So
yes, you did find the training room, and just to sort of like cut this a lot forward, you found the boss in there, but one of the other ghosts had alerted you.
Yes.
To a secret.
Yep.
Just underneath his armour, in one section, was a scale weakness that Gabe took him on.
One-on-one.
That is justing class thing, and
dueling, yes.
Found the weak spot and took him out.
In one turn.
Took the armour. Of course, you can't keep the armour
because it's designed for a serpent person.
Yeah. I thought another very interesting one was Seth's prison.
Mm-hmm.
The madman.
Basically, there was a lot of stuff in here that was like, oh, needless, pointless fights. You don't really need to do it.
Yeah. There's a lot of times when there's like, oh, the serpent people. There's the mess hall. The serpent people that come along and they want to eat the group. And there's all this sort of thing. The group won't succumb. Right? And it doesn't really fit the tempo of the run.
There was the
Wraith fights.
There was the Wraith that almost killed Pete.
Yeah, well, that's always nice, you know.
By the stairs, and it was like anyone who goes below half health, it enters rage mode.
Yes, because
and then it started wailing on Pete because he was below half health.
Yes,
and Rob kept rolling. Oh, it wants Pete. What can I do?
Blood frenzy. Well, yeah, no. See, I think I've mentioned this in videos before, but I will point it out again. That what I do with some bosses, if I want to completely randomise who the NPC, the boss, whoever it is wants to attack, I'll roll like a d6, a d4, whatever, and I'll allocate either to the positions on the map, to the guys, so you're there from the left, so you're number 1, or like the initiative order in front of me. I'm going to go like that, you know, roll a die and count along, and that's who it is. I mean, so whenever I need to randomise a person, or randomise a stat, or randomise anything, I'll tend to use dice.
Yeah.
As a system. So it's just funny that someone always comes after either Pete or the NPCs. We found it before. The group have been saying. In fact, even Margie, on my part as the GM, when she got like
attacked in general,
right?
You rolled for her. It was like, guys, it's the NPC curse. What can I do?
And I'm showing the die. And it's one thing to show the die, right? And they have to take my word for it. And it's another thing when they now know that's her number, and it comes up again.
Right, guys, it's a 6.
So they already know now. I only have to tell them, show them the number, and they're like, oh, it's Margie.
It's the NPC curse. Who have they decided to call Trevor?
Do you know what? It's the curse of the red shirt, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You guys have it.
Yeah.
So, anyway, Seth's prison was quite bonkers.
He asked us a riddle, we got it right. He told us where one of the items were.
Oh, let's give him the riddle, shall we? Should we give him the riddle, see if they
It's not meant to be the poison of the serpent. Fangs of the serpent there. Well, no, venom of the serpent at that point. Or something, because he told us where in the statue it was.
Yeah, and then you went and found the concealed section of the statue.
Because we knew what we were looking for.
That had it in. Yes.
He was a bit mad in the head. He wasn't mad before that stuff.
Yeah, he kept sort of like arguing with himself, and yes and no.
With like, yeah, Golem, much.
Yeah, honestly, Jackson, you freaked all this up for us.
Well, it's not just Jackson, just Tolkien in general.
Yeah,
but yes, Jackson was the one who turned it to film.
Uh-huh. So, what is this riddle? This was his riddle here. You ready? See how many of you can answer it. Here we go. I create life and also nourish it. I contain life and the future for some. I am first, although some say I came last. I am fragile, yet strong enough to hold precious cargo. What am I? So, if you don't want the spoiler of this, pause it and think about it. That'll be nice for you. And what do you think it is? Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. And of course, the answer is. In fact, you know what? I'll let you put your comments below. That's a good idea. Because you're not going to read those first, the spoilerifics. Just watch the video. It's all good. Okay. I assume maybe you won't anyway. Right. So, anyway. Yes, you answered the madman. But you didn't free him. Nope. You conned him. You tricked him.
Yep.
You didn't want him on the loose running around making trouble. He would have been a great one to
see what happened.
The boss.
Yeah, he would have been. Considering what happened. But we'll get to that later.
Yes. Well, you eventually, you made it down into
We went through
the final section. And
we mentioned to the two people like, oh, I want you to kill him, and no, but I want you to kill him, and it's like, but I know where the treasure is. Oh, I know where the treasure is.
But neither of them knew where it was. They just wanted to kill each other and someone to do it, but they're spirits, so they can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
Or actually, they're shadow serpents. So they're
ethereal of their own.
They are not completely fully dead.
Mm-hmm.
They're trapped.
But they want someone else to kill them for them, basically.
They're cursed.
Yep.
Yuga's cursed them.
Mm-hmm. So they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
And failed me.
We didn't kill him, we just buggered off.
And you know, actually, this whole idea of, like, you've betrayed Yig and now he's abandoning you, it almost feels like the same story as the Maker.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that mean that history repeats, or are they the same person somehow in a bizarre way? Do you know, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is Yig the Maker?
God of knowledge. According to the serpents, or God of whatever. God of knowledge was the other thing, yeah.
Yes, but that could be a knock-on descendancy of thought from that.
Considering where we are as well, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway, at the bottom...
We found a sacrifice room with a bunch of zombies in it.
Which you just shut the door back on. We don't want any of that. And then you found a big old statue of a snake, and it looked like its eyelids can move.
We found another room with a jade serpent in it.
But this was a replica. This wasn't the jade serpent.
We believed, or at least Craig put us like, right, it's going to be one of those moments where we take the thing off, and it's going to make it so we can't open the door.
Or you were thinking like an Indiana Jones trap with the pedestal.
Yeah.
But none of that was going to happen. None of that was going to happen.
No.
You just pick up this... And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it when group have expectations. But it never
happens.
However, the true trap is very subtle. Because certain group personality dynamics, certain groups, for certain groups, that would be a trap.
Mm-hmm.
As they will say, oh my god, it's the Jade Serpent, we've got it.
Yep.
We've got it. Because it looks like the Jade Serpent, it appears to be the Jade Serpent. They
so
take
we're
it.
doing this.
We'll have it, we'll take it, we'll leave. And it wouldn't be the Jade Serpent.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd put all their gamble on a replica.
Mm-hmm.
So I suppose, you know, other groups, things could work out different. But this group wouldn't fall for something
because we thought it was a trap in a different way. We were expecting the obvious trap.
Yes. And instead it's the subtle one.
And then we walk up to a big pair of doors.
They won't open no matter what. There's no keyhole, there's nothing.
And it's like, you're going to try to open them? It's like, are we fuck?
So, it turns out to be the eyelids.
Mm-hmm.
You interact with the eyelids, you know, and...
Big old boss door open, well,
the light no more shining out of the statue's eyes.
Yep.
The big boss doors open and reveal a real big room with a big old pit in the middle, and that's actually where it ended, everybody. The session, cliffhanger, about to go in and fight, as they've been warned already by the Shadow Serpents, the avatar of Yig. But bear this in mind. Yig has long abandoned his people. So what? Alright, well, you know, until next time, I'll see you at the table.